It's Thursday, June 12th. I'm Scott.
I'm Rim.
And this is Geeknights. Tonight, Dodgeball.
Hit somebody.
Let's do this.
So a lot of people have been wondering what exactly is going to happen with the Geeknights book club now that we've switched to the temporary sabbatical schedule of 2 shows a week.
In our eagerness to change up the show, we made one change followed by another change that disrupts the first change.
Now, we're still debating exactly what to do because we've realized a couple of other minor flaws in our clever plan. For one, I don't want to make anyone feel bad, and I know people have lives and are busy and that sort of thing, but man, do you people read slow.
I mean, I have a big, long commute, and I work, and I do the show, even though I'm doing the show less, and I can read faster than all these kids who are, like, in school with hours and hours of free time.
Well, I mean, I think the problem was, I remember thinking, like, all right, a month? Well, they'll definitely read the first book, and I'll bet they can pretty much read the trilogy, so let's just do the whole trilogy.
I mean, I read it in a couple weeks.
God, I read the third book in, like, 3 days.
Yeah, something like that.
But that's because I went crazy.
I meant the whole trilogy in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, from all the feedback we've gotten, most of you have barely even gotten through the first book, if you're even anywhere near finishing it.
I mean, on the one hand, it's okay because you can not listen to the episode, and then when you're ready, listen to it.
That would have been fine with the old schedule, because whatever. But now, Thursdays only come twice a month.
Yes, you'll be missing like a whole month of Thursdays if you aren't ready yet.
Plus, at the same time, I realized that as much as I want to talk about the whole trilogy, I have more to say about the first book than will fit in one show as it is.
Yeah, and at least the books, usually like when I read something or watch something that's a bunch of episodes or sequels or something, the whole thing blurs into one. But with these books, there's a very clear separation of the three that really, it makes it easier to talk about.
The tricky thing is, I forget exactly where each book ends, and
I remember exactly where the first book ends.
Well, I guess I read it longer ago than you.
Yeah.
But like I don't remember I think back, it's like, all right, when exactly did this specific event happen? And I know it's in like either, late first book, early second book, but I forget exactly. The thing is, there are certain demarcation points of knowledge whereby you can talk about a topic from the books, but depending on how far other people have read in terms of which book they're on, there's a point at which you just can't talk about a topic anymore, or a topic means something completely different.
Yeah.
Like, what are the non-men? We can talk about what are the non-men, but but the context of that is completely different by the third book.
Yeah, it's kind of difficult because even if we only talk about one book, there might be spoilers for the second and thirds. And I don't think that's avoidable.
It's very avoidable. We just have to limit the number of people on the round table, and I can at least talk about the first book without spoiling the rest.
I can also talk about the first book without spoiling the rest.
Hence, we'll probably just not include the rest of the crew in the discussion of the first book.
Oh well.
There's no way to, because they'll spoil.
Yeah. Oh well.
Regardless, I don't know exactly what we're going to do. We're probably going to continue and do the review, roundtable, final thoughts, whatever, of the first book of the Prince of Nothing trilogy, The Darkness That Comes Before, next Thursday's episode, which is the Thursday after next Thursday.
So you got 2 weeks. So the next Thursday episode, we're going to talk about this book. So
at least finish the first book.
If you're interested. I mean, if you're not interested, you don't have to.
Yeah. I don't know if we'll start the next book yet, because I kind of want everyone to read all 3 of these books and then talk about them as a whole.
Yeah, but I mean, we could do that sort of later. I kind of want to, like, if we're actually going to have a book club, we should sort of there should always be at any point in time a book that is the current book.
But at the same time, if we introduce a new book when half our listeners haven't even been able to force their way through the first book, then no one's ever going to finish any of our books. It'll just ruin every second or third Thursday.
I know it's a tough choice. I think we'll have to do it like every fourth Thursday.
Well, we might just do it organically. I don't know. Read. Good God.
Yeah. Maybe we'll just have to say, if we just, I mean, Oprah doesn't slow down, right? And she does her book club thing, and it sort of just forces people to read faster. Which
How
I think,
often does she do it, though? And
I
how
think
many,
it's every month, isn't it?
and how many episodes of Oprah are there?
5 a week.
And also, I'll bet a lot of people don't read the Oprah books. They just watch the next Oprah.
Yeah, I have no idea. But then again, maybe there's a lot of people out there who aren't going to read the book, and they're just going to listen to it to sort of, because they like listening to us talk about it.
Yeah, but at the same time, well, at least if we talk about just the first book, that's okay. But if we talk about the trilogy, well, pretty much ruin.
I definitely think that, for the whole book club thing, we have to keep everything to a single volume, I mean, if we want to do a whole series, what we should do is we should do the first volume.
Well, I think
then
the problem
the
is
future
that-
volumes should be sort of a special thing later.
I think the real problem is that the majority of you seem to have not even been able to get through the first volume of this.
And maybe we should pick an easier book.
All right, next time, 1 fish, 2 fish.
Oh, now I was going to do C-Spot Run.
We gotta
or
sit-
Mr. Happy.
You might have to watch out, though, because there's spoilers. I mean, as much as I want to talk about the red fish, I think we have to wait, because I don't know if you guys are going to finish it in time.
Okay.
Okay, enough insulting. What do we got in the news?
Oh, man. Okay, so check this out. It was hard to find a news today, but then I'll take the news from like the front page of the newspaper. Right?
Wait. So Supreme Court takes one step further toward getting rid of this police state terrorism torture BS. Barack is going to be the next president of the U.S.
All right, so that's just fine, but what do I have to say about it other than yay?
4 Cub Scouts or Boy Scouts died in a tornado.
Yeah, because they were in a tornado.
There was something on Fark.
No, but those are all well and good newses, but I don't really have much commentary to add to any of them, But there is one news where I do have a lot of commentary to add, and that is the news about the basketball. Now, of the sports that there are professionally entertaining in the United States, that came off really poorly. Of the major professional sports in the United States, basketball is perhaps my least favorite.
Now, I would rather watch curling. Now, to be fair,
I say they're about equal.
Nah, it's curling.
Basketball's at least fun to play.
At least curling isn't rigged.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh,
curling is fun. Curling is less fun to play than basketball. They're equally
curling's
entertaining
really
to
fun.
watch.
Curling's pretty fun.
Anyway, well, I guess it could be fun for the novelty of it.
I mean,
times.
it's a matter of opinion. I can't say basketball is
Right.
objectively bad. I find it incredibly uninteresting, except I don't know the last 40 seconds of a game, and only if it's close.
Well, basically, here's the news, right? So, in basketball, when you're playing the game of basketball, you're not really allowed to touch people, hit people, bump into people, grab people, or else it's a foul. And there is a rule of what is a foul and what isn't. And depending on how you commit the foul, there's a penalty that is exacted. Usually, the other team gets a number of free throws, to score points or whatnot, right? And the thing is, if you get a lot of fouls against your team, that could basically makes, no matter how well you play, you're going to lose because they got, like a zillion free points, basically. So the calling of fouls by referees in the NBA, which is the professional basketball league of men in the United States, is sort of inconsistent. I mean, ice hockey is very similar with the calling of penalties, tripping, slashing, etc. But for some reason, while there's many bullshit penalty calls and also many penalties that go uncalled, it doesn't feel rigged so much, even though it can actually turn the tide of a game a lot more than it can in basketball.
Well,
and
at least in a sport like hockey, while there's a lot of arbitrariness, there's kind of this accepted sense of justice where and you see this, and if you graph it out, it's pretty clear that if the refs make a bad call, one, they know they made a bad call immediately.
Yep.
And what they do in hockey, at least, is if there's a bad call against one team, you can guarantee there will be an equally bad call against the other team at a similarly critical moment before the game is out.
Yep.
And that's how they kind of regulate that.
There's also, the fans of hockey, while in an individual game, you might call bullshit on this, that, or the other thing, like you will at baseball saying, oh, no, he was safe. There's a perception of objectivity in the penalty calling. In basketball, there is no perception of objectivity in the calling of fouls. It's pretty much completely subjective, and it's real. I mean, you're playing this game of basketball. It's pretty much impossible not to foul people. I mean, I think they should just play basketball, and I think they should just make it you can't touch anyone, period. And just if you touch anyone, that's it, foul. Even if you graze them, it would make it really, they would, it's really the way the game is now. It's sort of broken, and there's not much more I can say about that. But anyway, the news. The news is this guy, Tim Donaghy, and he used to be a referee in the NBA. Then he turned out to be a felon, so he's going to jail.
Wait. He turned, it's kind of like he turned out to be a felon. All right, so he's a normal guy, and there's like, wait a minute, you're a felon.
Yeah, pretty much. I forgot exactly what he did, but it was a big scandal, and he got in big trouble. And according to him, right, now that he's, already feloned, if that's a verb,
felonized?
Yes.
Felonated?
There was in very important playoff games, there was rigging of the games, as in the referees were calling fouls, aggressively against one team in order to get the results to turn out a certain way that would benefit the NBA. Because think about this, right? If you're the NBA, the league, you're a for-profit league. You're interested in fair competition, I guess, theoretically, but primarily you're interested in making money. So wouldn't it be in your interest as the league to have the incredibly popular team against the incredibly popular team in the finals, as opposed to the team from the middle of nowhere versus the team from the middle of nowhere? Like, the NHL was much happier with Detroit, Pittsburgh than they would be with Florida, Nashville in the Stanley Cup Finals.
Luckily, we don't have to worry about that so much because subtle rules changes and subtle strategy changes have made it to the point that offensive old school teams have a clear advantage in hockey once again, as they should.
But the point is that basketball, even if it is not rigged, they give off this perception that it is indeed rigged. I mean, there was a final, and the NBA finals are going on right now, and it's the Lakers versus the Celtics, which is pretty much, you couldn't ask for a better combination of money making for the NBA in terms of what teams are in the finals.
My whole life and to this day, whenever someone says Celtics, it bothers me a lot.
Well, that's what they are.
It's like, all right, they
just pretend it's someone with a Boston accent parking the car.
So
with the Celtics.
So you pronounce your K's as C's.
If you're Bostonian,
soft C's.
Yeah. Well, no, that's an X. The Red Soxies. Yeah. Anyway, so basically, it's a huge deal now because everyone's like, it's rigged. It's rigged. The guy says it's rigged, and it's tough. Do you trust the guy who is the felon and got kicked out and actually has a reason to sort of be vengeful and slander, his former employer? Or do you believe him because he's got the balls to, let out the truth and all the people who are still in the organization? And it's really impossible to go either way without some more evidence. But really, all I say, there needs to be some sort of independent investigation of some sort to figure out what the deal is.
Well,
because if it's rigged,
presents the fundamental problem in every possible whistleblowing event in the world, where anytime someone is a whistleblower, a legitimate whistleblower, what's like, especially in the movies, you see this all the time, but also in the real world. What's the obvious thing you do to the whistleblower? You discredit them in some way in order to prevent people from believing them. We saw that in that...
this guy discredited himself, which is...
Yeah, but we saw that in that liberal porn movie, Man of the Year. Where it's like, the whistleblower, let's fill her full of heroin.
Yep.
And that happens in the real world, too. Anytime someone's a whistleblower, everyone tries to immediately discredit. And you think, oh, well, obviously they're just trying to discredit. But at the same time, who has more to gain by discrediting than someone who is already in trouble with the organization and is only trying to get revenge? It's like it's the least probable thing that is also the most probable thing. So who do you trust?
That's why it's impossible to know without an independent investigation. And really, for something like the NBA, I mean, normally I'd be like, what do we care about, some sport? Who cares if it's rigged or not? I mean, pro wrestling is, not a real sport.
I'll say this.
It's totally fake and no one cares.
I'll say this. I don't care if baseball is rigged.
Well, the reason...
Or basketball.
The reason
or
that it's important for the governments to check and see if these things, at least the U.S. government, to check and make sure that the major professional sports are rigged or not is because... the stadiums for these sports are huge parts of the local economies, and it is often government money that pays for these things.
I disagree. The only vested interest our government has is not whether or not the sport is fair, but whether or not fans think it's fair and continue to attend.
Yeah, that's fine too. But the point is,
So their prerogative is not necessarily to prevent cheating. It is just to make sure that no one thinks they're cheating. You can argue if you're going to make the money.
the solution either way is an independent investigation,
Not
even if it's a fake
necessarily.
independent investigation.
Well, yes, because here's the problem. What if it appears to be rigged and it turns out that no, that's just the way it rolls? Then you have to sack everybody anyway and say, yeah, it was rigged, now we fixed it. And then rig it to make it look like it's not rigged.
Yeah, it's a really tricky situation, but regardless, it's hard to enjoy a sport when you have the perception that it's just rigged.
It's hard to enjoy a sport
favor the
where
stars.
both teams score every 20 seconds for the entire game.
Yeah, and you basically have people trying to get, seriously, in basketball, you have 5 guys. 5 guys could hold hands and make a wall around the net so you can't get close to it without touching them, and you're not allowed to touch anybody.
It's not quite that cut
I know,
because
they can just shoot over your head or whatever. But
even then, touching is not quite that cut and dry.
I know, but it's a very, very difficult thing to judge, and I think basketball in general needs some fixing. I think, really, the way to make basketball better is to raise the net
I was
way
about
up.
to say, just put them another 10 feet up.
Because they got these tall guys, but the net isn't really that much higher than it used to be. They should make it like 20 feet in the air. It's like no one can possibly reach it, and you have to shoot. So
You know what I would do? I would make 3-pointers worth 4 points.
I would say if you shoot from half court, it's worth 5 points. Anyway,
you get a percentage of points up to 10.
Because then you'd actually, the thing is, right? Look at something like soccer,
Or even
right?
better, why not just have 2 nets? The 10-foot net, and then next to it, the 20-foot net that's worth twice as many points.
Then it gets kind of gimmicky. But
Yes!
the thing is,
No,
you look at all these
doesn't get gimmicky, it
gimmicky
gets
sports.
awesome.
I know, it's really weird because you look at a gimmicky sport.
I liked watching slam ball.
I know, remember slam ball? It was so gimmicky with trampolines, right? The thing is, the best team sport ever, ice hockey, is the most gimmicky sport ever, but it doesn't look gimmicky, but think of how gimmicky that is. Ice. It doesn't get gimmickier than ice.
Why don't we just make basketball happen on ice?
I'd play that shit.
No, you wouldn't. You're afraid of skating.
I'm not afraid of skating. I just have to learn skating.
You want to learn skating?
Every time I've ever skated, roller, ice, or otherwise, right? I do it, and I kind of wobble, I wobble, and after about an hour, I'm kind of just whooshing around. Not super whooshing around, but I can go in a circle without holding the railing, and I can stop. And
Well,
it takes about an hour to
It's
get
hard
in
to
the-
say because I've only ever seen you once. And I remember you held on to the edge of the ice rink and you walked around it one full rotation around the entire thing, and then you were done.
No, it's not. I don't remember that.
That was the one time we went with like half the crew. It was RIT. It was like free, but free meant, there's no ice skates because everyone on campus is trying to ice skate.
Anyway, no, when I ice skate or roller skate, generally what happens is I have to learn again from the beginning because I forgot everything because I don't do it often enough to develop the muscle memory. And then I kind of go around like holding on for a while, and then eventually, like after maybe an hour or so, I can skate in a circle and then stop, and that's all I can do is skate forward and stop without holding on to anything. And that's
Well,
as far as I've ever gotten.
Why don't we
I
just start
imagine
playing
if I
some one-on-one hockey in the street?
I imagine if I
I'll
skated
buy all
every
the
day.
equipment. I just want someone to play one-on-one hockey with.
All right, well, then we need some goalie action. I don't know.
No, you don't. One-on-one hockey is maybe it was just because where I grew up, but it was a common sport of kids. 2 kids will just play hockey against each other with sticks, nets, and a ball. 2-on-2 is a lot better, but 1-on-1 works.
Yeah. Well, regardless, I'm sure if I skated every day, I eventually would be able to skate averagely.
So this is a little out of the way. No, none of you are going to have seen this on Fark or Slashdot or Dig, even though I don't think anyone actually goes to Dig anymore for news because Dig is... I've said Dig is dead, but I haven't been to Dig in like 2 weeks, and I went today, and it was like there was nothing worthwhile.
I only go to Dig like once every couple weeks if there's not enough videos to watch on other
I
sites,
have not
and I'm in the
seen
living
something
room.
on Dig that I had not already seen somewhere else better and more reliable with a higher or better signal to noise ratio. Dig is done.
It is definitely done. I just cut it out of my RSS feed, then I cut out and I stopped doing RSS, and then I stopped checking Dig, and now I don't miss it at all.
Well, I used to have that policy of, in my account on Dig, to make it bearable, anyone who posted anything stupid, I just immediately put on the ignore list and never looked back. And I'd added like 600 people to my ignore list. So I logged into Dig actually today, right? And I decided, all right, I'm just going to look at comments and ignore everyone who posts something stupid. And as I began to click ignore on every single post I saw, and I'm not kidding, every single post I saw on the entire front page of 2 stories,
Awesome.
I'm done with Dig.
Yep.
So here's some news you won't find. And you might wonder why I'm bringing it up, partly because I'm a roller coaster. Well, I was when I was a kid, a roller coaster enthusiast.
When's the
shall we
last
say?
time you rode a roller coaster?
The last time I rode something that I would consider a legitimate roller coaster was the summer after my freshman year at RIT.
Oh, we rode that thing in Wildwood.
That thing was barely a roller coaster.
Was it a train? Did it go up and down hills?
Oh, yeah, but it was a roller coaster in the same sense that an Apple II could still be considered a computer
It
today.
is a computer.
Technically, yes. However,
Well,
it is
was
not
still
useful.
fun. It's still fun to use an Apple II and play some Oregon Trail.
No, it's not. It's really not.
Yeah, it is.
It's much more fun to just play Oregon
I didn't
Trail.
say it's not more fun to play Oregon Trail elsewhere, but it's still fun to play the old Oregon Trail.
It's not worth it, though. I would never...
Not for the price we had to pay. Good God, it was like $10.
I would never go out of my way to use an Apple II. If anything, I would use an Apple II emulator.
I would. Yeah, all right.
Yeah.
Anyway.
It's like playing a...
Man, we could we have a big roller coaster and we use it to emulate smaller roller coasters but the track modifies itself to All right.
Anyway, I was somewhat of a roller coaster enthusiast. Now, part of this was because I grew up in the Midwest, and I'm not saying that every roller coaster park in the world or every roller coaster in the world is bad, because that's absolutely not true. But the deal is that there's this place called Cedar Point, and a lot of people outside of the Midwest who aren't roller coaster enthusiasts, like as a geekery, don't really know much about Cedar Point. But basically, it is the
I
roller
never heard of
coaster...
it until I met you.
Yeah, but it is the roller coaster capital of the world and has been for as long as there have been roller
I don't know.
coasters.
There's that thing in Japan.
No.
Tokyo Spa Land.
Do you know how few roller coasters are there?
But they're crazy.
They're not that crazy.
They had that one that's crazy. They like 2 or 3 that are stupid crazy.
Not so much. I could talk about that.
Anyway.
But anyway, Cedar Point is the roller coaster capital of the world and the amusement ride capital of the world. They have almost 80 real rides, not counting like the kiddie rides, and they have 17 roller coasters, the weakest of which are better than the best roller coaster at the average amusement park.
Yeah, I mean, Six Flags New England is pretty good, but they've got, let's see if I can count. Last I checked, they had like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
Yeah.
maybe 6 or 7 roller coasters.
Yeah. Cedar Point has like most of the roller coasters are over 200 feet, like all the good ones. Oh my God, I don't want to even get into it. But anyway, Cedar Point is like the roller coaster place. If you like roller coasters, that is the only place in the world. Like if you haven't been there, there's no point in going anywhere else.
It's also the amusement park with Snoopy.
Yes, it used to not be. That's a relatively recent change. It used to be Bernstein Bears. Yeah, Bernstein Bear Country was there with all these learning sciencey exhibits, and it was really cool. And they tell you stories. And then one year I went, and it was gone. And in its place was Snoopy Land, and Snoopy Land was nothing but kiddie rides and food.
Wasn't that better than Bernstein Bear Country?
No, Bernstein Bear Country was much better.
Well, if you're a kid, wouldn't you rather ride rides than look at
Because
learning shit?
I would ride the roller coasters.
Yeah.
And then I'd go to Bernstein Bear Country and learn stuff.
Why would you want to learn and ride roller coasters when you could ride roller coasters and ride roller coasters?
Because I'm a nerd.
Anyway. Plus, Snoopy is way better than Bernstein Bears.
Yes, I agree. However,
they gotta have Woodstock hockey rink.
let me put it this way. Here's the deal.
It looks like a giant bird bath.
Here's why I had a problem with Snoopy. Because Bernstein Bear Country and all that stuff at Cedar Point had this kind of old school level of class. Like it was this kind of classy, not over commercialized thing. And there were no like gift shops or anything there. There weren't even that many gift shops in Cedar Point. But when they brought Snoopy, the amount of Snoopy merchandise that was being sold at every turn, like they replaced every science exhibit left in the park with a Snoopy like gift store.
And now you know the trials of Bill Watterson.
Yes, I do. There's no Calvin and Hobbes land, thank the gods. But Cedar Point, this is a place where you'd pay like $65 to get in for one fucking day.
That's about right for an amusement park.
Yeah, it was
a major amusement park.
Yeah, but for 17 roller coasters. Thing is, it was only like $100 for a year pass. So
that's the thing. They always get you with the year passes, where most people come there for a single day. Most, unless it's Disney World where you get like a 3-day because you want to see everything. Most amusement parks, 1 day is enough to do everything once. And very few people come back for a second day. So they always give you that. They always have the year pass on offer because it's basically if you're going to stay more than 1 day, you should buy the year pass. And if you get a year pass and you actually come a lot, you're going to spend a lot of money on those overpriced foods and gifts. And if you are just staying for 2 days,
and
because
when you want to eat, you go out of the park to the marina and eat at that diner.
Yep, and the cheap year pass that's always cheaper than 2 single-day passes really entices people to buy it and thus stay for 2 days, and thus will they make like twice as much money off of you.
Anyway, attendance and revenue at Cedar Point itself is down this year, despite the fact that
it's down at every amusement park.
No, it's not.
Amusement parks are down.
No, it's not.
No?
Not at all.
Uh-huh.
In fact, on average, not just the amusement parks owned by the company that deals with Cedar Point and all that, but all amusement parks, on average, their attendance is pretty much static, and on the aggregate, they're doing fine.
Really? I was hearing that amusement parks were down.
They're not. What's down is individual parks are down, but that's being made up for by other parks. And the speculation is that basically people are going, like they want to go to an amusement park, but they're not willing to travel far or pay a lot of money to go to an amusement park like they used to in the past because the economy's down and gas prices are up and all that
and
sort of thing.
And there's many other mostly I think there's a lot of cheaper forms of entertainment than the amusement parks that are a lot less difficult and have a lot less stress involved in the getting there.
What people are doing is they're going to less good, closer amusement parks.
Like Splashdown Park.
Yes, good God. That place is like $40. It has like 3.
If it was $10, I would have gone there. But
Scott,
$40
if it was $10, everyone within 40 miles would be there, and you'd have to wait 2 hours to ride the 20-foot slide.
I'm saying I would take a day off of work and, while, when no one was there. And
Scott, I've driven past that place on work days, even like hot days in the summer. The line is out the park. Good God.
All right, so anyway.
But, yeah, that's pretty much it. That's my news. It's kind of an excuse to point out that if you're a roller coaster fan, Cedar Point is really the only place to go. But you know why Cedar Point's down, despite being the roller coaster capital of the world? It's in Ohio. Who's going to go to Ohio except people who are already in Ohio?
Michigan's.
Yeah, but they're right there. They're right next to it.
Indiana's.
Not so much, because it's in the corner by the Great Lakes, not the corner by Indiana, by the other Great Lakes. Things of the day. Now, someone's going to say, but Rim, this was on Dig. Yeah, it was also elsewhere. Anyway, on YouTube, someone put up a long excerpt from one of Carl Sagan's things, and it's basically about the Library of Alexandria and the history of that and what it meant for the world and what happened to it in case you didn't know.
And now we have Wikipedia. Let's hope it doesn't also burn down.
I don't know what I can say. Carl Sagan is one of my personal heroes. I have so much respect for that man and the things that he did. In a lot of ways, part of the rationale for doing Geeknights and the reason we bring up certain topics so often is that in some small way I want to spread his messages at least a tiny bit to the world.
Well, people's certain messages in general, his messages being some of them.
Well, it just so happens that his messages tend to very much coincide with my messages.
Gee, I wonder how that could be.
Partly because I remember reading Cosmos as a kid, and partly because he's right. Anyway, I highly recommend, if you don't know a lot about Carl Sagan, or if you don't know a lot about the Library of Alexandria, or if you have never seen Carl Sagan talk about the Library of Alexandria, this video is incredibly depressing. And I'll leave it at that.
If it doesn't depress you, fuck you.
If it doesn't depress you. Anyway.
All right, so check this out. I don't know what Forex is, but I know it has something to do with trading of stocks and finance.
I cannot comment, but continue.
The point is that trading stocks and things, if you're not actually risking your monies, is pretty fun. I mean, I played the stock market game, was out in 7th grade. I won. I went to the floor of the stock exchange. It wasn't that great. It's kind of boring down there. A lot of paper on the floor. I think they just like throwing paper on the floor for the aesthetic.
Well,
it's really not necessary.
Well, the thing is, it depends on what kind of exchange.
And but the guys who sweep up the floor, they just like to keep their jobs. It's like a union thing. You got to drop paper on the floor so we keep our jobs.
But I got to say, because at work, sometimes like we want to do a test or something, and I can connect to the non-production servers. And I remember me and one of my coworkers wanted to test something, so I bought 1 million shares of IBM.
Oh man!
And it was really fun.
Anyway, and then when I was in like high school, when Yahoo Finance existed, they had a stock market game on there, and I played that. And I got crushed because I was versus the world instead of versus the 7th graders in town. So,
well, here's the problem: if you look at the stock market in aggregate, it pretty much looks like and emulates in a lot of ways white noise.
Yeah. Anyway, so there's this program here. It's like a Forex trading application, right? And if you were actually interested in doing Forex trading, whatever that is, imagine it stands for finance something.
No.
I don't know. Anyway, if you're interested in doing that, these people have a program that lets you do that, and it looks like a pretty good program, at least judging from looking at it. What do I know about this, right? But if you just want to pretend to do some Forex trading, you can sign up, get a free account, and use their application as a game for free forever. So you can just pretend to be a Forex trader and play it as a game, which I imagine is mad fun and also mad educational. And it's free. So why the hell not? I think it's a pretty damn good thing of the day.
Well, I'll explain a little bit at least. Forex means or stands for foreign exchange.
Oh.
Yes. And it's pretty much just the currency market.
Oh.
Which is...
So buy yens, sell euros.
Is fun to think about, but basically all I can really say about this is that the margins on currency trading are very low, and it's not terribly easy to be profitable in.
Well, it is because you're playing a game. You just pretend to have $1 bajillion.
Oh, yeah. But
I don't know if they let you. I don't know if it's actually a game. Maybe they start everyone off with the same amount of money or something.
I have no idea how the game works.
I don't know how it works either. I'd actually try it. It just looks cool. I'm going to try it later.
Yeah, I don't know. It's that sort of thing's really fun. I can't comment too much.
Yeah, but it is fun to pretend to buy and sell stocks and things. But don't actually do this sort of thing unless it's your job, because you're basically just risking a whole lot of money on nothing.
See, my guess is that this is basically a marketing ploy to trick people into thinking that they can make a bunch of money, and look how easy it is.
Yeah.
I based this just on going to the website and looking.
Well, I mean, that's what they did in the 90s with all those like E-Trade and Ameritrade and all those other like online day trading programs. People would quit their jobs. They'd get these online day trading programs. They'd be like, this is fun. They'd like watch little graphs.
Well, let me put it this way.
Push buttons and hope they could make money that way.
I'm going to point out something that
it ruined the stock market.
That is on Wikipedia. I'm looking at it right now because I like this page. I find it funny that it's here. But there's a page on Wikipedia entitled Forex_scam. And I will leave it at that.
Alrighty.
So,
but the game is free, so it's not that part is not a scam.
I can tell you about a much better game that's also free.
All
it's
right.
called Dodgeball.
Oh man! Oh, we're ready. We're getting into it, aren't we?
So Dodgeball is a game of dodging balls in a non-homosexual way.
Well, the thing is with dodgeball is that there's so many varieties of dodgeball and the exact rules, but they all have one thing in common. One person or one team throws balls at the other team
until they are knocked unconscious.
Yes, and if you get hit with a ball, but you fail to also catch the ball, that is bad.
What if it's a trap, though? What if you trap it between you and the wall or you and the floor?
I don't know, but then we're going to get into that.
Yeah.
And nowadays, dodgeball is not allowed in many schools where safety Nazi parents have ruined fun for children.
No, it's not for safety, though, because dodgeball is super. You can't get hurt playing
It's for self-esteem, whatever.
Yes, it's for self-esteem.
Which is the same thing.
But I can understand,
It's the same overprotective bullshit.
I'm okay with not making kids throw medicine balls around anymore.
Well,
'Cause
medicine balls is
I fucking hurt myself with a medicine ball.
yeah, medicine
once.
balls okay, but we're talking like foam balls here, all right?
Yeah, I mean, we played dodgeball with Nerf balls. Well, when the school made
We
us
played
play.
them with, they were Nerf volleyballs. They were volleyballs, but they were made of foam.
Well, here's the thing. When we were forced to play in gym class, we played with this foam dodgeball crap. We played on our own. We basically
Kickballs.
no volleyballs.
Volleyballs are okay too.
That's because we were hardcore.
Yeah,
Well,
soccer
well,
balls
no.
are also okay.
Real men play with softballs.
No, you don't. Well, I guess softballs, as in softball the game, no.
All right, now-
Softballs and balls that are soft, yes.
I know this is a cultural thing. Like, this happens in Japan. People play dodgeball in school and gym. And I know in America, I don't know how much in the rest of the world. So I know we have a lot of foreign listeners. So basically, dodgeball is a game that is played almost entirely by kids who are forced to play it in gym class, by gym instructors who are lazy, don't want to deal with teaching or anything at all.
And it's a special treat because usually they make the kids do something that is less fun, like run
you
laps.
realize most, as far as I've seen, most gym classes in this country, especially in crappy schools, you'll play dodgeball like every gym class.
No, and when I was in school,
Yes.
dodgeball was a special treat.
In good schools, but I went to a crappy elementary school for 1 grade in 5th grade, and let me tell you, we played dodgeball 3 out of 5 gym classes.
That'd be awesome.
Except no, because basically the teacher would walk out and say dodgeball, and he'd split us up into 2 teams, and then he'd walk out of the room.
Awesome. Anyway, yeah, the teacher definitely needs to be there to be constantly refereeing, which is what always happened when I played dodgeball. Anyway, so I want to hear from people around the world, like, how does the dodgeball you play, if you played it, work? Because there are different rule sets all over the place with huge variations, and it's not really played outside of schools. There's not a lot of professional dodgeball. So
Except at RIT, where we had the intramural dodgeball
I
league.
should have gotten into that, but I didn't.
No, the only reason I didn't is because they always met or had their games during other things that I was more vested in.
Yeah. Anyway,
Of course,
so
you had no official responsibilities to the RIT Anime Club.
no, but I would have rather done
You were
that
like
than-
you were basically the vizier.
Yeah, but was I going to do that or was I going to play dodgeball, you know?
Well,
Anyway,
there was that one time we challenged the gaming club to dodgeball.
yeah.
And no one from the anime club showed up, so we just all played dodgeball together for like 2 hours.
Yeah, it was an okay time. So I played 2 different varieties of dodgeball when I was in school, and I'll share them with you because I really like explaining how these work because I think we had some really good rule sets going on. So the problem is these games only worked in a gymnasium with with relatively lots of equipment, right? So the first kind of dodgeball we played was prisoner dodgeball. And the way it worked is you had a gymnasium, preferably as big as possible, depending on how many people you had, 2 teams, right? And you can go anywhere you want, but you can only go between the half-court line and sort of
Yeah.
the backcourt out of bounds.
Well, I think we can skip all those specific because pretty
Yeah,
much
yeah.
everyone played in a gym and you couldn't go over the middle line.
Right. They line up like 5 balls or
Well,
so on
I
the
guess
middle line.
The center line, because you realize all those lines on the floor, because like school gyms have like a million different lines, depending on what sport you're playing, use different lines.
Yep.
They all have names.
I know.
I don't think our listeners know all the names, so we won't use them.
So I got the center line, as in if it was basketball, the line that goes across the middle.
Yep.
Right. Anyway, so basically they go, and then the game starts, and you go and you try to grab the balls off the front, but of course, running up to grab the balls first, you risk someone getting there before you and then nailing you really easily.
God, that's going to be in that thread.
Yeah.
What you just said. Good God.
Anyway, so run up and get the balls, and then you pretty much just throw the balls back and forth, and you try to hit people on the other team, but if they catch it, you're out. But if you hit them and they don't catch it, they're out. If you're out, you raise your hand, and you walk across, the other team's zone and stand behind the enemy team. And when you're standing behind the enemy team, you're in prison. And if you're in prison, you can't get out. You're basically stuck there. But people on your team, if they want to, can attempt to throw the balls over the enemy team. And if you in prison catch it, you're out of prison. And you can bring the ball back to your team's side. And that's pretty much it. The game doesn't really have an end situation unless you get the entire other team into prison. And then
Well, see, here's the fundamental problem with dodgeball as it is played by most people in schools. It is not designed to be a good game. It is designed to last a long time.
And it's designed to be fun. Throw balls at people and try to hit
It's
peg
also
them.
designed to be fun for everyone. And as opposed, because if you play, I mean, the way I always wanted to play dodgeball on our own, because we'd always like. Pretty much, they'd make us play dodgeball in gym and we hated it. But then we go to recess and we'd all play dodgeball.
Yeah.
But we played it real and we got really into it. Like we all formed our teams. We'd be running around. We had strategies where like one guy yells, candy bar, candy bar. I forget what candy bar was, but that's the only strategy I remember.
Yeah. The only other thing about prisoner dodgeball is that if you made a basket, you know, because they had the basketball nets down, you basically had to make a basket from half court with a foam volleyball. Quite a feat. Your entire team got out of prison, which is awesome.
Yeah, I mean,
when it happened, it was like, oh man, and the other
everyone
team
had
was just like shit.
gimmicky ways of playing and all that stuff. And I don't want to get into all the different gimmicks because I'm of the mind that the best way to play dodgeball is just if you're out, you're out. Last team, whatever. Yeah, and you probably want at least 2 balls.
Yeah.
'Cause if
more
there's-
balls, I actually think is better because it turns you get less of that action where a guy just stands there with the ball, he sort of hides it behind his back.
Well, no.
Yeah.
Here's the problem that I always ran into. If there was just 1 ball, pretty much I'd let my entire team get eliminated because I would just like ignore everyone and just duck behind people or push them in front of the ball or something. And if I was the last one left, I'd just stand in the middle. And there's only 1 ball, and it's a big ball. No one can throw it so fast that I can't catch it or dodge
Especially if you stand far away from the line.
and I'm the only one left. So basically, it's a standoff. I will stand there, and if they throw it at me, I either catch it and they're out, or it bounces and doesn't do anything, or they miss me.
Yep, the situation, though, is if you dodge it, then you pick it up, you have to throw it at them without them catching it.
No, I would just roll it back over.
Rolling it back. There you go.
Now, actually, our gym had a good rule, and we adapted this to the playground, which was great because the playground wasn't even, where if the ball bounced, as long as it was in the air when it hit you, it counted.
Ah.
So if you bounced off the ground and then bounced up and hit someone in the nuts, that was totally okay. But by the same token, if you trapped it against the wall or against the ground, it was just a like it didn't count for anything.
All right. That's all right.
Yeah.
You know, you come with whatever rules you want.
So as a result, my strategy was usually to kick the ball and just kind of randomly bounce around and bean someone in the face.
See, actually, there was another variety of dodgeball we played, and I remember I played it because I went to they had like this summer program where you would go to the school, right? You go to one of the schools in the summer for a few weeks, and like a little bus came to get you, which is why my mom sent me there because then she didn't have to drive me. And basically, you chose 2 activities and did one in the morning and one in the afternoon. So I just chose gym and computers. Every time.
See, the funny thing is, as athletic as I am and how much I like all that sort of stuff, from 6th grade until the one gym class I was required to take in order to graduate high school that I probably could have gotten out of if I bitched enough, I never took a gym class.
Oh, we had to take gym class every single year.
If you were in the marching band, you didn't have to take gym classes. And in middle school, if you were in the band, you didn't have to take gym classes.
No, in our school, everyone absolutely had to take physical education all the time.
The worst thing was, though, you didn't have to shower in gym classes either, so no one showered.
We didn't have to shower, but we had to change clothes.
Yeah, I often didn't just because I didn't care.
Yeah.
Because the one gym class I took, my senior year of high
Basically,
school...
your grade in gym was, do you show up, did you change your clothes?
Well, I decided to take individual sports, which was like a week of archery and a week of tennis.
Yeah, we had options like that. You could have taken net games, which is volleyball, table tennis,
But you know what I
etc.
totally did? I played through the ping pong part because I was awesome at ping pong. And I played through the archery part because I think archery is really cool. And I convinced the teacher for the rest of it that I was going to go do martial arts upstairs. I didn't know any martial arts. And I'd pretty much just sleep up there or play my Game Boy or my Game Gear.
Awesome.
Or go home.
Yep. Anyway, so the other kind of dodgeball that I played, which actually I like more, was a really cool game. They had a name for it, but I forget what it was, and I really wish I could remember. They actually had 3 different kinds of balls. Right? They had the foam volleyballs.
Big balls, small balls.
Right. They had
something the
foam
size of your head.
volleyballs. They had the Voight kickballs.
Ah, the Void kickball.
And they had the Nerf footballs, right? And they were sort of different distributions. Like there was only 1 or 2 Nerf footballs, and the rest were sort of half and half, the Voights and the foam balls, right? The foam balls were for nailing people, and you would get a point if you nailed someone, but no one got eliminated. If you caught one of those, you also got a point, right? The Voigt balls were actually dual purpose. You could either peg someone, but you got less points for that because it was easier to peg someone with it. But with those, you could try to score a basket and get 3 points. And with the football, you could drop kick it between like the two things that the basketball net was hanging on, the two things that hang it from the ceiling. And if you scored a field goal, it was like 5 points. It was crazy. And that was really fun because you were getting all these different kinds of balls. And like the drop kick was such a rare event that anyone even attempted it. It was just sort of weird that way. So I would always try for the drop kick every time because it was like, oh man, someone's trying it. Oh my gosh.
Man, I like the much simpler. Of course, the one time we were playing dodgeball, and we had like 4 different balls out there, and one single yellow Nerf arrow from the bow and arrow. Because basically, you could throw that thing, and actually, it was really cool. If you held it by the front and threw it like tail forward like a dagger, it would go out and then straighten itself out and just make a beeline.
Yeah, you had to throw it pretty high and hard, though. It's a lot of wrist action to get that to go quickly.
Oh, yeah, but that arrow made that game.
An arrow was good, yeah.
The problem is, it was really easy to catch.
Yeah, it's good. I can't imagine going that fast.
I'm a big fan of the really simple, because, like, simple, just one touch you're out, catching the other person's out, 4 or 5 balls, and like 10 people on a team.
See, I like having some of the complicated things, because it sort of mixes it up, gives you something interesting to think about, like adds some sort of strategic element there, as opposed to just the raw physical dodging and catching and running.
But there's so much strategy even in the raw game. Like, for example, all right, 5 balls, right? If you've got an organized team, and we would often plan this stuff in advance, we'd be like, all right, we'd wait until we had like 4 of the balls on our side. And usually at that point, the other team realizes what's up and go, crap. And they hold on to that last ball like, what are we going to do? And what we do is we'd shoot a volley. The organized volley.
Another great strategy we always had is...
Or we toss one up to get someone to go for a catch. Meanwhile, someone else had the little ball behind their back. And as soon as the person's looking up to catch it, whap them in the face with that ball. They miss the ball in the air and they're out.
Yep. Another good strategy we had is if you had a ball in your hands and someone threw a ball at you, you could use it to bump that ball away.
Yes, you could.
So it's like, I'm not going to dodge. Throw that at me. I dare you. Bump. Ha 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 ha. I'm using the ball as a shield. And it's basically what you do is you'd bump throw real quick while they weren't ready for it.
Well, no, don't bump throw. Bump from the top down a little bit to bump it right back at him.
Yeah, but that wouldn't really count if they hit them.
Well, see, you got to play with bounces.
Yeah. I don't know. The thing about playing with bounces is it's good and bad in a way.
I think it's nothing but good. I think it adds a lot to the game because then there's a lot more throws you can do, a lot of moves. I like the idea of moves.
Moves are okay. I like moves. All right.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Plus, one option we played a lot was we'd basically demarcate a circle, right? And it was just either teams, shirts and skins, or every man for himself, and that's it. Then it gets crazy. Someone's got a ball. Suddenly, there's basically a circle of people around him going, don't throw it at me, don't throw it at me.
Oh, that's right. We did play circle dodgeball, which is where there's people standing around the circle and there's people in the circle. And the balls are coming at, there's balls, 2 or 3 balls coming at you from all the people around the circle. And they're throwing it at the people in the circle. And if you get, you're surrounded by people on all sides. So it's a game of, it's coming at you from all 360 degrees. You got to dodge that shit. And then if you get hit, you got to go into the circle and now join the people, attack the rest of the people still in the circle.
The other fun thing we do
and the last person in the circle wins.
4-square dodgeball, where basically we just divide the gym into 4 equal corners. And it was 4 teams playing dodgeball.
But the team diagonally from you would sort of be like the last team, sort of like Warlords.
Yeah, but at the same time, if you were good enough, you would eliminate the 2 teams on either side. If it came down to just 2 angle teams, then we'd switch it to the whole gym.
Yep. That's obvious. Dodgeball is such there's something fundamental about the game of throw something at someone and try to hit them with it.
Well,
that allows for such a wide variety of games, without actually making a broken or stupid game, because
I like
the
direct,
base concept is so good.
simple, direct competition between humans. I very much enjoy.
Yep.
Not indirect, like two people running like a time trial, but direct, like two people racing mountain bikes on the same single track.
Yeah, it's like you have this sort of slight violent element to it, which, despite violence in general being abhorrent, is, violence sells, right? Possibly more so than sex.
No, violence is abhorrent unless it's mutually consensual sport violence.
Yeah. And
that's why hockey fights are so great, because usually you want to fight, let's do this.
Yeah. But at the same time, no one's really getting hurt, and it's kind of fun, and you can be aggressive, but you can also be defensive. And it's not like I'm on offense now, I'm on defense now. You can play it as you go. You can choose your own path. You can.
The problem is, the best part of every game was always the initial moment when there's 3 balls lined up in the front, and everyone starts to the back of their court, and the whistle gets blown. Because
go.
Usually, there's always those few people who run for it. And you always make the decision, am I going to run for it?
What I would do is I would run for it, right? One time, right? I ran for it, and I just ran as fast as I could, because most people hesitate a little bit, right? I ran for it as fast as I could, and when I got there, I just fucking kicked it really hard, right? So everyone just like got out of the way, like, whoa, not because it would have counted, because a kick doesn't count, right?
See,
but
kicks counted, so the way that was one of these strategies.
Well, it didn't matter if a kick counted or not, because either way, they dodged it because they didn't want to get hit by that, because I kicked it really hard, and that would have hurt.
But that was our strategy. Say there were 5 balls up, right?
Mm-hmm.
We'd plan ahead of time. 5 people will run.
Yep.
And we'd pick which ball they were running to. And we'd always designate one person as he will kick the ball as cover for everyone else who's going to grab the ball.
Yeah, so the fact that now the second time we did it, they thought that I was going to kick it really hard. So when I ran full on, no one went over there. They sort of shied away. And
So
I just walked. I got close. I walked up and I picked it up. And I'm like, ah. And then, of course, the next time, it's sort of like the psychology of multiple rounds. The rock, paper, scissors psychology sets in, so you got to stay one step ahead of the game. Next time I don't run up really hard. I just sort of step a little bit, and they go, huh? And then I run up and get it.
Yep. One strategy that was always key, like my individual strategy, was there's, especially in gym dodgeball where everyone's kind of forced to play, and there's always like half the people just don't want to be playing or suck.
That is one problem I always had in gym classes. Since it's a class, which is pretty much a sized cross section of your class of kids in school, right? You're gonna get people who are really into it and people who aren't, and really it would only be fun if everyone was into it.
But the trick was, a lot of people would pick off the low-hanging fruit. No, leave them
the
out there.
low-hanging fruit to the end.
They screen, or you bounce balls off of them.
And then you always get the stereotypical situation of the one nerdy person who hates sports being all alone in dodgeball with everyone else on the other team.
You know what? It sounds stereotypical,
but it's
that
awesome.
happened so often.
Especially, what it really happens the most is when you get the kind of dodgeball where when you hit someone, they come to your team. So one team that's winning just gets larger and larger.
Oh, that's not a good way to play.
And the losing team gets smaller. Yeah, it's not the best way to play, but it's quite humorous because it's one team of losers and one team of winners. And then they just have fun picking off all the losers.
I remember this one game, it was in 5th grade, and we were using our attrition strategy, which is we'd get all the balls, or as many as we could, and we'd throw a volley. And we only do this if we were up by at least like 2 people. What we do is we'd all walk up to the front with all the balls, pick one person, and all throw at that person. Now, they might catch one of the balls, and one of us would be out.
But not the other ones.
But they're definitely going to be out, too. So, basically, every throw, we would eliminate one more person. But
they wouldn't catch it every time.
Well, the thing is, there was this one kid who caught it every time.
There are also those amazing moments in dodgeball where someone will catch more balls than it seems possible. Like, they'd catch a ball, drop one, and catch another one. Or they would catch one, put their arms out, and catch another one between their arms.
Was key, because most people, they were afraid of getting out because they wanted to play. So they were so afraid of the ball because they didn't want to get eliminated that they wouldn't go for the catch. They'd be like, oh my God, and try to dodge it.
Yep, the worst is if occasionally you would catch it and it would bounce out of you because you would do the chest catch. Like you cup your arms and you catch it deep in there because you think it's going to be a lock, and then it bounces out. And you're like, no!
You'd always tell the good dodgeball players because they would put their hands out, catch it with both hands, and hold it out in front of them.
Yep. Yep, that's the way to do it.
Or we had a couple of kids who were really good at volleyball, and what they would do is when it came, they'd bump it up, and then someone else would catch it behind. Every ball, the one guy would stand in the front. Whenever they threw it, he'd bump it up, and then his friend behind would catch it. It was so perfect.
There's a lot of good machines.
We had a
you can get
long
going.
debate in class where the gym teacher stopped, and we had to argue whether or not that was legitimate.
It's good stuff.
Of course, that was only because we had a substitute gym teacher one day who was awesome.
You know, maybe at some anime convention or something, we could have a dodgeball event.
Most cons would not let us do that.
I know, but I'm just, if only.
We could do it at Otakon. You know those kids who are always fighting with the stupid swords?
Yeah, they can play kendo out in that area. Why can't we play dodgeball?
Let's bring a kickball to Otakon and just see what happens.
All right.
I ordered a kickball, so
One is not enough, though. We need at least 3.
we'll get some other people to bring.
Yeah. Also, they might go off the edge up there. We might need to find a better place.
I think that place is fine.
You know, it might go over at PAX.
Oh, man. I'll bring a deflated dodgeball.
All right. You got anything else to say about dodgeball other than how awesome it is? Now everyone should play it, and it's a travesty it's not played as much anymore?
I feel like in general, well, I don't know. I have a somewhat tangent, but I'll go on this real quick. I feel, and I made a thread about this, that a lot of geeks and a lot of nerds, like they eschew sport. They're like, sports. And they get this bug up their butt, like, I don't like sports. And usually, it seems, it's because they conflate the idea of physical fitness or sporting with bullies and that sort of thing, because there is a little bit of a correlation, partly just because of physicality of it, but I feel like a lot of geeks do themselves a grave disservice by letting themselves become physically unfit or avoiding sports or physical competition because of these kind of unrelated or conflated issues.
Yeah, it's not Revenge of the Nerds, people. All right?
The Greeks had it right. A well-rounded classical education is critical to being a good person. Well, maybe not necessarily a good person, because there were a lot of evil Greeks.
Revenge of the Nerds is the stereotype. You're not supposed to be the stereotype, right?
A well-rounded education will do you nothing but good in the long run.
I mean, look at all the things that you know, look around. It's like, you know, you might be a geek and dislike sports, but you probably think martial arts are cool, and you probably think hockey is cool, and you probably think that parkour is cool.
Do parkour. I was about to say it's easy. No, it's not easy.
No, it's
easy
really
to
hard.
get into.
It's easy to try.
Well, you just got to start small.
Yeah.
And then work
Jump
your way
over
up.
a little skateboarding, right? Nerd sport.
Yeah. Well, the skateboard nerds are this class of
Snowboarding is nerd
nerds
sport.
in and of themselves.
I know.
I don't know about snowboarding. I've never seen anyone actually do it.
You never seen anyone snowboard?
No. See, that's a joke, right? Because anytime in my whole life, when I was a kid and I'd go skiing, and then when I finally started skiing again last year, the one time I went skiing to see if I could still do it, snowboarders were never snowboarding. They're always sitting halfway down like the bunny hill on their asses talking.
Nah.
Never were they actually snowboarding.
I've seen them on TV in the half pipe.
Oh, yeah. It just, I don't know. I really don't think snowboarding is that fun compared to skiing because it's a lot slower and you can't do as much.
Yeah. Anyway.
You can do the little tricks and stuff, which is cool, but skiing
I like
is
that
just,
1080 snowboarding video game for the N64. That was a good
that was
game.
actually a pretty damn good
It's
game.
on the Virtual Console. I think it's one of the best snowboarding games, even though I never played those SSX ones. Anyway, Dodgeball. Pretty awesome. I think there should be a professional dodgeball league.
I think there should be Olympic dodgeball.
That I would agree
It
with
should
that.
be like I thought it really was.
There
as
was
kid.
a movie about dodgeball, but I think it was one of those stupid wacky comedy movies, and I didn't see it.
I saw trailers to it. It didn't look funny at all.
No, but I guess that was a missed
But
opportunity.
one of
for
the
awesome.
guys from Firefly was in it, and that's why everyone lost their shit over it.
Really? I did
Yeah.
not know that. Anyway, that makes me want to see it less.
Dodgeball.
Good times. Tell us your dodgeball stories. Tell us how dodgeball is played in your area.
Yes, we want all you. We'll make us Will there be separate?
We should make a
threads?
dodgeball database, all the different dodgeball rules in one place.
Ooh, should we make that? That could be a money-making site. The D-Ball DB,
D-Ball DB. Maybe we can start a D-Ball league. The league.
an international D-Ball league,
International D-Ball League.
organized by nerds, with a website with a ladder and a challenge system.
Yeah, something like that.
Oh man. This has been Geeknights with Rim and Scott. Special thanks to DJ Pretzel for the opening music.
Be sure to visit our website at www.frontrowcrew.com, where you'll find show notes, links, our awesome forum, a link to our Frapper map, and links to all the RSS feeds.
We say feeds plural because Geeknights airs 4 nights a week, covering 4 different brands of geekery. Mondays are science and technology. Tuesdays, we have video games, board games, and RPGs. Wednesdays are anime, manga, comic nights. And Thursdays are the catch-alls for various rants and tomfoolery.
You can send us feedback by email to geeknights@frontrowcrew.com. Or you can send audio feedback via audio. Just click the link that says Send Me an Audio on the right side of our website.
If you like what you hear, you can catch the last 100 episodes in iTunes or in your favorite podcatcher. For the complete archives, visit the website, which has everything.
Geeknights is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial Share-alike 2.5 license. This means you can do whatever you want with it as long as you give us credit, don't make money, and share it in kind. Geeknights is recorded live with no studio and no audience. But unlike those other late shows, it's actually recorded at night.